Welcome to Washington, D.C., the beating heart of the United States of America. This city is not just a capital, it is a living symbol of democracy, leadership, and the dreams of a nation. Every corner of Washington, D.C. tells a story of freedom, struggle, progress, and hope. From the iconic monuments that rise tall against the skyline to the political decisions that shape the world, Washington, D.C. stands as a reminder of what America represents. Founded in 1790, this city was designed to be more than just a cluster of government buildings. It was meant to inspire. Its streets, its monuments, and its architecture carry messages of unity, resilience, and progress. Walk down the wide avenues, and you feel the weight of history in the air. Stand at the National Mall, and you witness a stage where countless voices of the past have shaped the destiny of millions. From Martin Luther King Jr. S.I. Have a Dream speech to presidential inaugurations that changed the course of history. Washington, D.C. has been a witness to moments that defined humanity, but Washington, D.C. is not only about politics and power. It is also about culture, art, science, and people. The Smithsonian Museums here are treasures of knowledge, holding the secrets of our universe, our planet, and our human journey. The city is alive with students, tourists, leaders, and dreamers who come from every corner of the world. It is where decisions of global importance are made, yet where the beauty of cherry blossoms in spring reminds us of the simple joys of life. As you begin this journey through Washington, D.C., prepare yourself to witness not just a city, but a living museum of democracy and freedom. Every monument, every building, every memorial carries a voice from the past and a promise for the future. This is Washington, D.C., the place where power meets history, where ideas become laws, and where the story of America continues to unfold. Let's begin this incredible journey together. Standing tall at the very heart of Washington, D.C., the Washington Monument is more than just a column of stone. It is a towering legacy of America's first president, George Washington, and a powerful symbol of unity, strength, and resilience. Rising to over 555 feet, this iconic structure dominates the skyline and draws millions of visitors each year, who come not only to admire its architectural beauty, but also to connect with the ideals it represents. Construction of the monument began in 1848, but like the story of America itself, the path to completion was not simple. Political disagreements, lack of funds, and even the Civil War delayed its progress. For decades, the unfinished structure stood as a reminder of challenges faced by a young nation. Finally, in 1884, after perseverance and determination, the monument was completed and opened to the public, symbolizing that no obstacle is too great when a nation stands united. The two shades of marble visible in its tower tell the story of its uninterrupted construction, a visual reminder that progress often comes with struggle, but also with triumph. What makes the Washington Monument even more fascinating is its design. Built in the form of an obelisk, a style borrowed from ancient Egypt, it reflects timeless strength and endurance. At the time of its completion, it was the tallest man-made structure in the world, surpassing even the Great Pyramids. To this day, it stands as the tallest stone structure and obelisk in existence, an engineering marvel of its era. Every stone, every detail reflects the vision of honoring a man who led America. Through its birth as a nation, surrounding the monument is the reflecting pool and the National Mall, creating one of the most breathtaking views in Washington, D.C. Visitors who climb to the top are rewarded with a panoramic sight of the city, from the Capitol to the Lincoln Memorial, from the White House to the Potomac River. It is as if the monument watches over the entire Capitol, standing as a silent guardian of democracy and freedom. But the Washington Monument is not just about history. It is about meaning. It reminds every American, and indeed every visitor, that leadership rooted in integrity, vision, and courage has the power to shape nations. George Washington refused kingship, believed in the people, and set the foundation for democracy that continues to inspire the world today. The monument is a physical reminder of that legacy, a tower of hope rising from the heart of America, as the sun sets behind its tall shadow, or as fireworks light up the sky on Independence Day, the Washington Monument continues to inspire. It tells us that history is not just about the past. It is about the principles we carry into the future. A symbol of strength, resilience, and unity, the Washington Monument is, and will always remain, one of the greatest landmarks in the story of America. At 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue stands one of the most famous buildings in the world, the White House. More than just a residence, it is the beating heart of American leadership. A stage where history unfolds every single day. The White House is not only home to the President of the United States, but also a symbol of democracy, diplomacy, and decision-making that affects not just America, but the entire world. The story of the White House begins in 1792, when George Washington, America's first president, selected the site for this new presidential home, although Washington himself never lived here. Every president after John Adams in 1800 has called this iconic building their residence. Its neoclassical design, inspired by European architecture, was meant to reflect elegance, stability, and permanence, qualities that the young nation wanted to project. Over the years, the White House has expanded, renovated, and adapted to changing times. Yet it continues to serve as the ultimate symbol of presidential power. But the White House is far more than bricks and marble. It is a working office, a command center, and a global stage. In the Oval Office, decisions are made that shape the course of nations. Wars are declared. Peace treaties are signed, and new policies that impact millions are born. Behind those closed doors, leaders meet with world figures, from kings and queens to scientists and activists. It is here that America speaks to the world, sometimes in whispers of diplomacy, sometimes in the thunder of bold declarations. The White House has also witnessed trials and challenges. During the War of 1812, it was burned by British forces, and later rebuilt, a reminder that resilience lies at the core of the American spirit. Through times of crisis, the Great Depression, world wars, and national tragedies, the image of the White House has stood firm, giving the nation a sense of unity and continuity. Its shining white walls tell stories of both triumphs and struggles, of progress and sacrifice. Inside, each room carries history. The East Room, where state dinners and grand ceremonies take place. The Blue Room, often used for receptions and holiday celebrations. The Situation Room, hidden deep below, where presidents and their advisors face the toughest challenges of national security. Every hallway echoes with the footsteps of leaders who carried the weight of responsibility on their shoulders. Yet, beyond power and politics, the White House is also a home. First families have lived, laughed, and grieved here. Children have played on its lawns, pets have roamed its halls, and countless memories have been made within its walls. This balance of private life and public duty makes the White House unlike any other residence in the world. Today, the White House is visited by millions, both in person and virtually. It represents not just the leader who resides there, but the enduring spirit of American democracy. To look at the White House is to look at leadership itself, tested, challenged, but always standing strong. It is not just America's house. It is the people's house, where history continues to be written every day. At the western end of the National Mall stands one of the most powerful and emotional monuments in the United States, the Lincoln Memorial. More than just a marble structure, it is a temple of memory, a shrine dedicated to a man whose vision of freedom, equality, and unity reshaped the destiny of America. President Abraham Lincoln. The memorial, completed in 1922, was designed in the style of a Greek temple, symbolizing wisdom, strength, and timeless ideals. Its 36 massive columns represent the 36 states that made up the Union during Lincoln's presidency. Inside, seated in solemn dignity, is a giant 19-foot-tall statue of Lincoln, gazing across the reflecting pool toward the Washington Monument and the Capitol beyond. His posture, half relaxed yet deeply thoughtful, reflects the weight of the enormous struggles he carried during the Civil War. Every detail of the memorial, from the inscriptions of his speeches to the quiet strength of his statue, is meant to honor a man who gave his life for the preservation of the Union and the end of slavery. But the Lincoln Memorial is far more than an architectural masterpiece. It is a stage of history. This is the place where countless Americans have gathered to express their hopes, struggles, and dreams. It was here, in 1963, that Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. delivered his immortal "I Have a Dream" speech, echoing Lincoln's vision of equality and justice. Standing on the very steps of the memorial, King's words gave new life to the promises of freedom and civil rights. Forever binding the memory of Lincoln to the fight for justice in modern times, the walls of the memorial carry the inscriptions of two of Lincoln's greatest speeches, the Gettysburg Address and his second inaugural address. These words are not just carved in stone, they are carved into the soul of the nation. The Gettysburg Address, with its famous line, "Government of the people, by the people, for the people," reminds us that democracy is a living promise. The second inaugural address, delivered as the Civil War neared its end, speaks of healing, forgiveness, and unity. Together, these speeches embody the values that Lincoln lived and died for. For visitors, the experience of walking up the Grand Steps, standing before Lincoln's statue, and looking across the reflecting pool is unforgettable. By day, the memorial glows with sunlight, a beacon of strength and dignity. By night, it shines under soft white lights, creating a solemn and almost sacred atmosphere. It is a place of reflection, a space where Americans and visitors from around the world come to honor the past and draw inspiration for the future. The Lincoln Memorial is not just about one man. It is about what he stood for. It is about courage in the face of division, compassion in the midst of conflict, and vision that sees beyond personal power to the greater good of humanity. To stand at the Lincoln Memorial is to be reminded that freedom and equality are not given once, they must be fought for, defended, and renewed in every generation. That is why the Lincoln Memorial remains one of the most sacred landmarks in Washington, D.C. A tribute not only to Abraham Lincoln, but to the ideals that continue to guide the American story. When people think of Washington, D.C., they often imagine the White House, the Capitol, or the Washington Monument. Yet hidden within the heart of the city lies another treasure, one that holds the spirit of knowledge, culture, and discovery, the Smithsonian Institution, known simply as the Smithsonian. This is the largest museum, education, and research complex in the world. It is not just one building, but a collection of 21 museums, galleries, a zoo, and research centers, all dedicated to preserving the past, exploring the present, and inspiring the future. The story of the Smithsonian began in 1846 with a remarkable gift. James Smithson, an English scientist who never even visited America, left his fortune to the United States to create an establishment for the increase and diffusion of knowledge. From this vision grew a network of museums and institutions that now welcome more than 30 million visitors every year. And the best part? Most of them are free, making this treasure accessible to people from all walks of life. Walking through the Smithsonian is like traveling across time and space. The National Air and Space Museum, one of its most popular, takes visitors on a journey from the Wright brothers' first flight to the Apollo missions that carried humans to the moon. Here you can stand in awe before the Spirit of St. Louis, touch a moon rock, or gaze at the spacecraft that once orbited Earth. It is a living classroom of science, exploration, and human imagination, just steps away. The National Museum of American History tells the story of a nation, from the original Star-Spangled Banner that inspired the national anthem to Abraham Lincoln's top hat and Dorothy's ruby slippers from The Wizard of Oz. This museum weaves together the threads of American culture, politics, and innovation. Each exhibit reminds us that history is not just about dates and events. It is about people, dreams, and struggles that continue to shape society today. For lovers of art, the Smithsonian offers the National Gallery of Art and the Hirshhorn Museum, where masterpieces from Renaissance paintings to modern sculptures reflect the creativity of humanity. Meanwhile, the National Museum of Natural History opens the doors to the wonders of the earth, from towering dinosaur skeletons to sparkling gems, like the famous Hope Diamond. Children and adults alike wander its halls with wide eyes, discovering the mysteries of our planet and beyond. And then, there is the Smithsonian's National Zoo, home to giant pandas, elephants, lions, and thousands of other species. But this zoo is more than a tourist attraction. It is a center for conservation, research, and the protection of endangered animals worldwide. What makes the Smithsonian so special is its mission. It is not just a collection of objects locked in glass cases. It is a living institution that teaches, inspires, and connects people. Whether you are a scientist seeking answers, a student learning history, or a traveler simply curious about the world, the Smithsonian has something for you. It is a place where knowledge is shared freely, where cultures meet, and where imagination has no limits. In many ways, the Smithsonian is the soul of Washington, D.C., while the monuments and government buildings represent power and politics. Smithsonian represents wisdom, creativity, and discovery. It is a reminder that true strength lies not only in armies or governments, but in ideas, knowledge, and the endless curiosity of the human spirit. To walk through the Smithsonian is to walk through the story of humanity itself, a story still being written every day. Stretching across the heart of Washington, D.C., the National Mall is more than just a park. It is a stage where history has been written, where voices have risen, and where millions have gathered to celebrate, to protest, and to dream. Known as America's front yard, the National Mall is a space that belongs to the people, open, free, and powerful in its symbolism. To walk across the mall is to walk through the living story of the United States. The National Mall is framed by some of the most iconic landmarks in America. On one end stands the U.S. Capitol, the seat of democracy. On the other, the majestic Lincoln Memorial, a temple of freedom and equality. Rising in the center is the Washington Monument, towering over the landscape as a symbol of unity. Along its edges lie museums of the Smithsonian Institution, each holding treasures of art, history, science, and culture. Together, these landmarks transform the mall into an outdoor museum of American ideals. But what truly gives the National Mall its soul is not just its monuments, but the events that have unfolded here. Over the decades, this stretch of land has been the site of countless inaugurations, parades, rallies, and protests. Perhaps the most famous moment was in August 1963, when Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. stood at the steps of the Lincoln Memorial and delivered his legendary "I Have a Dream" speech. His words echoed across the reflecting pool and into the hearts of millions, forever binding the mall to the ongoing struggle for civil rights and justice. The mall has also been a place of celebration. From presidential inaugurations that mark the peaceful transfer of power to the 4th of July fireworks that light up the night sky, it is a place where Americans come together in unity. The National Mall has seen marches against war, gatherings for women's rights, environmental movements, and celebrations of culture and heritage. Each event, whether joyful or solemn, adds another chapter to its history. Visitors from around the world are drawn to the mall's powerful atmosphere. Walking along its wide paths, one cannot help but feel the weight of the past. The reflecting pool, stretching between the Washington Monument and the Lincoln Memorial, mirrors not only the monuments, but also the dreams and struggles of generations. Cherry blossoms in the spring add a touch of beauty, reminding us that, even in the shadow of history, nature flourishes and life continues. Yet, the National Mall is not only about the past, it is about the future as well. Every new generation that gathers here brings fresh voices, new dreams, and renewed hope. Students on field trips, families on vacation, activists demanding change, they all add their presence to the mall's enduring story. It is a place that constantly evolves, reflecting the heartbeat of a living democracy. To stand on the National Mall is to feel part of something greater than oneself. It is to stand where millions before you have stood, to share in the dreams of freedom, equality, and justice. The mall is not just grass and pathways. It is a sacred stage where America has spoken, argued, celebrated, and mourned. It is, and will always remain, the people's space. A powerful reminder that democracy is not confined to buildings of power, but lives in the open air, in the voices of citizens, and in the hopes of a nation. Rising proudly at the eastern end of the National Mall, the U.S. Capitol is one of the most recognized symbols of democracy in the world. With its massive white dome shining over Washington, D.C., the Capitol is more than a building of marble. In stone, it is the heart of American government, the place where the voices of the people are turned into laws, and where the destiny of a nation is debated, shaped, and decided. Construction of the Capitol began in 1793, and just like the country it represents, its journey was long and filled with challenges. The building has been expanded, burned, rebuilt, and renovated many times. But it has always stood as a beacon of resilience and unity. Its neoclassical design, with towering columns and the magnificent dome, is meant to reflect ideals borrowed from ancient Greece and Rome, civilizations that inspired the very idea of democracy and republic. The dome itself is perhaps the most iconic feature of the Capitol. Completed during the Civil War, it became a symbol of hope for a divided nation. Even as battles raged across the country, workers continued to build the dome, proving that democracy must endure through hardship. Crowned by the bronze statue of freedom, it reminds every visitor that liberty is at the center of America's story. Inside, the Capitol is filled with history. The rotunda, with its soaring ceilings and stunning paintings, tells the story of America's birth, struggles, and triumphs. Murals depict the signing of the Declaration of Independence, the landing of Columbus, and other defining moments. Statues of great leaders from every state line the halls, showing that the Capitol belongs not just to Washington, D.C., but to the entire nation. But the Capitol is not simply a museum of history. It is a working building, alive with debate and decision. This is where the House of Representatives and the Senate meet to craft laws that impact millions of lives. Here, presidents deliver the State of the Union address. Here, hearings are held, bills are passed, and policies are argued with passion and conviction. It is the beating heart of American democracy, messy at times, but always alive and moving forward. The Capitol has also been the site of dramatic moments in history, from inaugurations where presidents take the oath of office, to protests that shake its steps. It has seen celebrations, conflicts, and even tragedy. Yet through it all, the Capitol endures, reminding the world that democracy is not perfect, but it is strong enough to withstand storms and challenges. For visitors, standing before the Capitol is an unforgettable experience. By day, its dome gleams in the sunlight. By night, it glows under floodlights, casting a powerful image of endurance and unity. School groups, tourists, and citizens walk its halls, learning that government is not a distant power, but something that belongs to them. After all, the Capitol is not just the house of politicians, it is the people's house. To look at the U.S. Capitol is to see democracy in action. Noisy, perfect, sometimes divided, but always striving toward freedom, equality, and justice. It is a building that tells the story of America itself, a nation built on debate, strengthened by diversity, and held together by the belief that power must always serve the people. Just across the Potomac River from Washington, D.C. lies one of the most powerful and secretive buildings in the world, the Pentagon. With its unique five-sided shape and immense size, the Pentagon is not just a headquarters, it is the nerve center of the United States Department of Defense. The place where strategies are formed, where security is managed, and where decisions are made that affect not only America, but the entire globe. The Pentagon was built during World War II, at a time when the United States needed a central command to coordinate its growing military. Construction began in 1941, and remarkably, the building was completed in just 16 months, a feat of engineering and urgency that reflected the times. Its design, a five-sided structure with 5 concentric rings connected by corridors, allows for efficient movement and communication. In fact, despite its vast size, covering more than 6.5 million square feet, it is said that anyone inside the building can walk from one point to another in just 7 minutes. From the outside, the Pentagon may look like a fortress, but inside it is a bustling city of its own. Over 20,000 military and civilian employees work here daily, representing every branch of the U.S. Armed Forces: the Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, and now the Space Force. Each day, strategies are developed, intelligence is analyzed, and operations are coordinated to ensure the safety of the nation. It is here that some of the most critical decisions about global security are made. Decisions that ripple far beyond America's borders. The Pentagon is not only a symbol of strength, but also of sacrifice. On September 11, 2001, it became one of the targets of a terrorist attack, when hijackers crashed an airliner into its western side. The tragedy claimed 189 lives, both in the building and on the plane. Today, a solemn memorial stands outside the Pentagon, honoring the victims of that day. The rows of benches, each with a name, remind us that even the strongest defenses are not immune to tragedy, and that courage often shines brightest in the darkest moments. For visitors, the Pentagon remains an awe-inspiring sight. Its sheer size is overwhelming, so large that it has twice the floor space of the Empire State Building. Yet, it is not open to the public like the Capitol or the White House. Access is restricted, reflecting the sensitive nature of the work done here. Still, tours are available for those who plan ahead, offering a glimpse into the world of defense, discipline, and duty. But beyond its walls, the Pentagon represents something larger. It is not just about military might. It is about protection, readiness, and service. Every soldier, every officer, every planner inside works with one mission: to defend the Constitution, safeguard the people, and preserve the ideals of freedom. In that sense, the Pentagon is not just a building, it is a living organism of commitment and vigilance. As you look at the Pentagon from above, its perfect five-sided shape becomes clear, a design that reflects balance, order, and strength. Just like America itself, the Pentagon is built to endure, to adapt, and to protect. It is a reminder that peace often requires preparation, and that security is the shield behind which democracy thrives. Truly, the Pentagon is the silent guardian of a nation, a place where strength and strategy come together to defend the dreams of millions. As the sun sets over Washington, D.C., a new chapter of beauty begins. The capital city transforms under the night sky, where history meets illumination, and every monument glows with a timeless grace. Washington by day is inspiring, but Washington by night is simply magical. It is here, in the quiet of the evening, that the monuments tell their stories in light and shadow. The first sight that captures the eye is the Washington Monument. Rising proudly into the night sky, its white marble reflects the soft glow of strategically placed lights. From a distance, it looks like a beacon guiding the heart of the city. The monument stands as a reminder of George Washington's leadership and the birth of the nation. At night, when the crowds have thinned and the city slows down, the obelisk seems to whisper the story of independence to the stars above. Nearby, the Lincoln Memorial offers another breathtaking view. Illuminated in golden light, the seated figure of Abraham Lincoln radiates calm strength. Visitors who step into the memorial at night often describe a sense of reverence, almost as if Lincoln himself were watching over the city. The reflecting pool in front mirrors both the monument and the moonlight, creating a scene so peaceful that time itself seems to pause. Standing there, you cannot help but feel the weight of history, the struggles of the Civil War, the fight for equality, and the hope for unity. The U.S. Capitol is equally mesmerizing under the evening sky. Its majestic dome shines like a pearl against the darkness, symbolizing the enduring strength of democracy. The steps are quieter at night, but the building stands firm. A reminder that governance does not rest even when the city sleeps. From the east side, the Capitol looks over the city like a guardian, its lights glowing as if to remind all citizens that freedom requires vigilance. Walking along the National Mall at night is like walking through a corridor of illuminated history. The paths are calmer, the noise of the day has faded, and the air carries a different kind of energy, one of reflection. Each monument, from Jefferson to Martin Luther King Jr., seems alive in the moonlight, their words engraved in stone, illuminated, so that visitors can read them as if they were written just yesterday. Night brings out the soul of these memorials, making them not just structures of stone and marble, but voices from the past, echoing into the present. Even the White House, though not open to the public at night, stands glowing behind its gates. Its white facade bathed in lights, it becomes more than just the residence of a president. It becomes a symbol of the nation itself, resilient and enduring. Visitors often gather outside the gates, taking in its beauty, knowing that behind those walls, decisions are made that shape the future of the world. What makes Washington, D.C. at night so special is the balance between silence and grandeur. The city slows down, but its symbols of history, justice, and freedom shine brighter than ever. It is a time when tourists and locals alike can walk, reflect, and feel a deep connection to the ideals upon which the nation was built. The lights do not just illuminate stone, they illuminate the spirit of a country. In the end, the night in Washington, D.C. is more than just darkness covered by light. It is a living reminder that history never sleeps, that freedom never fades, and that the ideals of democracy continue to shine, just like the monuments that guard them. As our journey through Washington, D.C. comes to an end, we are left with more than just images of monuments, memorials, and government buildings. What we carry with us is the heartbeat of a nation, the spirit of America itself. Washington, D.C. is not just a city, it is a living reminder of sacrifice, leadership, and the timeless pursuit of freedom. Throughout this journey, we have walked through the corridors of history. We stood before the towering Washington Monument, a tribute to the nation's first leader who set the foundation of democracy. We gazed at the Lincoln Memorial, where the marble figure of Abraham Lincoln continues to remind generations of the value of unity and equality. We explored the Capitol, glowing under the night sky, a living symbol of governance and the voice of the people. We admired the White House, the seat of power that represents both leadership and responsibility. And we reflected at memorials dedicated to soldiers, civil rights leaders, and visionaries who shaped the destiny of America. But Washington, D.C. is more than just history written in stone. It is also a place of ideas, ideas that gave birth to a constitution, ideas that fought against injustice, and ideas that continue to shape the future. Every path on the National Mall, every engraved word on the walls of memorials, and every step up the Capitol Hill tells us one simple truth: democracy is not a gift, but a responsibility. It must be protected, nurtured, and passed on to generations ahead. Visitors who leave Washington, D.C. often describe it as a city that speaks without words. The silence of the memorials is louder than speeches, the light of monuments brighter than flags, and the presence of history stronger than the passage of time. It is here that you realize the true meaning of leadership, sacrifice, and hope. Washington teaches us that freedom is never free. It is earned, defended, and cherished. As we look back, one cannot ignore the balance between past and present that defines this city. The past stands tall in the form of marble monuments and historic buildings, while the present thrives in the bustling streets, diverse communities, and living democracy. This harmony is what makes Washington, D.C. not just the capital of the United States, but also the heart of America. It is a place where every citizen, no matter their background, can stand and feel connected to the story of the nation. And so, as our journey closes, we are reminded of these words. Washington, D.C. is not just about politics, monuments, or history. It is about people, those who built the nation, those who fought to protect it, and those who continue to carry its values forward. The city belongs not just to America, but to every person who believes in the ideals of liberty, justice, and equality. In the end, the monuments may be made of stone, but the spirit of Washington, D.C. is made of hope. And hope, once born, never dies. This city will always stand as a guiding light, not just for America, but for the world.